where the pros talk sports in Riverside and San Bernardino. Fox Sports 1350. KTDD San Bernardino. An iHeartRadio station.
What's up? This is Nick Young of the LA Lakers. You rocking at IE Sportsnet.
The Inland Empire Sports Authority.
Voice.
And we are live. This is the one and only IE Sportsnet. Right here on Fox Sports Radio 1350 AM. I am the one and only Coach B. Coming up in a few, we have Miss Michelle Gardner sitting in for Eternal. He's supposed to call in, but I don't know, that's Eternal. He calls in when he wants to call in. When it comes to Inland Empire Sports, the conversation starts and stops right here. Since we didn't get him to call in, it's okay. What we'll do, let's go ahead and let's just jump right into it. Let's go ahead and go. It's live radio, right?
Got to be flexible.
Got to be flexible. So let's go ahead and let's dive right into. We have Miss Michelle Gardner sitting in for the one and only Eternal. So we appreciate you sitting in for us today, Miss Gardner. How are you doing today?
I'm just dandy.
That's excellent. We had a couple of things. We were talking about this off air. Today we have a great show. Kyle Glaser from the Press Enterprise will be calling in, and Coach Lehman from Cajon basketball will be here as well. They're doing some amazing things in the CIF state playoffs, and then Kyle is going to call in and talk about JW North. So, Miss Gardner, we were talking about this off air, like I said. We hold on one second. We talked about what was going on with the Southern Section playoff bracket. One of the teams in the Southern Section that had a great win this past Wednesday was Bonita. Let's talk a little bit about that team.
It's a great guard-oriented team. They don't have a true big, and I think that's what hurt them in the Southern Section championship game is the opposing team had a 6'8" sophomore that they couldn't stop. But they're a run-and-gun, guard-oriented team. They're going to shoot a lot of threes, very, very scrappy. It's one of those teams that buys into a system and sticks to that system. Look how far it's gotten them. Coach Tim Godley's in his second year, and he's done a phenomenal job. He took over kind of a chaotic situation 2 years ago. And that team, you got to think, this team is the team that beat Ayala at the end of the season to forge a tie for the league title. So that tells you how Bonita is capable of good things. And you look at Bonita and Ayala, you get two teams from the same league playing for a CIF title, and that doesn't happen very often.
Right. And, speaking of that, Bonita, they beat Ayala, and Ayala was one of the CIF teams that went on to win the Southern Section. So, we can talk about that night, too. I know that's a little off the cuff what we were going to go over, but think about it. When you were there, you had four teams. You had Ayala, you had Bonita, you had Chino Hills, and you had JW North, all Inland Empire teams. What a night for basketball.
Absolutely, and 3 of the 4 win. So I don't know if you could ask for much better than 3 of the 4 actually coming away with championships. Right.
And I didn't realize that Bonita beat Ayala. They got to be sitting there thinking to themselves, man, we beat them.
Well, here is the situation in that game. It was the last game of the season. It went double overtime, and Joey Quintana, a junior from Bonita, jacks up a three-pointer at the buzzer to win it in overtime.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was nuts.
That is crazy. I think we may have and we'll pick up on that. I think we may have the one and only as always, calling in when he feels like it, calling in late. I have my finger sticking up because we have a fine coming down the pipeline. Michelle Gardner's here. She got here prompt and ready. She was on time. But some people, you see what I deal with, Miss Gardner? Do you see what I deal with?
It's early for all of us, though.
Right. So, caller, if you would go ahead and be so kind. If you have time to introduce yourself.
It is the one and only Eternal. I'm a bit late. Was because I was in the pipeline. I'm on location today. I'm grabbing information. You know how it is, man. It's tough out here, brother.
I hear you. And we were just talking about this with Mrs. Gardner. All three of us, we were out at the CIF Southern Section Finals. JW North, you're a Riverside native. Ayala, Chino Hills brought home titles. Bonita was there but was defeated. Tell us your thoughts about the night of basketball. Miss Gardner and I will pick up on this as well, but give me your thoughts on the night of basketball.
Well, what you saw there, and obviously it was just a great night of basketball. Once we got to the Honda Center, JW North was right there. They completed a huge win against Long Beach Poly. Really was the only one of the only Riverside County schools that were there. But they did a really good job, and they're obviously coached by Coach Barty. So they've been without a CIF title for some time. So this was great for North. And again, they came up with a huge win on Wednesday. And again, I know you're familiar with this because they beat your alma mater pretty handily.
And Michelle, this has nothing to do with Eternal being a Riverside native. Him loving this JW North team. And I told him before, JW North beat Downey, my high school. I am a Viking. I am proud. We don't have to talk about that anymore.
Yes. Well, they're continuing their run with a huge win over Ridgeview. They beat them 77-73 on Wednesday. So again, it was really good. I think who really was surprising to me again was just Chino Hills. Seeing Chino Hills play for me was great. The coach has been now the Naismith High School boy basketball coach of the year. Has been elected that by the Atlanta Tip-Off Club. So he's winning on average by 34.5 points per game. Really doing a good job. And then, obviously last night, Chino Hills came out with a huge win over the Emmanuel Eagles, 103-71. And when you look at this, anytime you have a trio that can bring you 36, 31, and 26 points, that is just saying something. And by the way, the guy that got the 26 points is a kid that, 14 years old. My goodness, it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
I think he could ball me up. Michelle was talking about that off the air, and you said that he's an 8th grade. He should be an 8th grade,
He should
right?
be in the 8th grade. They pushed him 1 year so that he could play with the two brothers in high school. So you're really looking at an 8th grader playing with the best.
Which is insane. At a CIF high level.
The open division, the best of the best.
In the open division, tipped in 26 points. The junior, Leangelo Ball, this is his second time he's had 31. He had 31 points in the win over, at the Honda Center there. And then last night again, he came out with another 31. Lonzo Ball obviously stepped his game up in terms of points, pulling in 36. But these kids are special. And then the freshman had, he came in and had 7 blocks. So, these guys have a team, obviously now that's impressive, but they're also going to be a team that's going to be impressive for some time to come.
Right. And, one thing that, once again, you listen to IE Sports that on Fox Sports Radio 1350 AM. Coach B, Eternal calling in, and Michelle Gardner from the Daily Bulletin in studio. And, Michelle Michelle and I are both imports. We weren't born and raised in the Inland Empire. Now, you're a Riverside native. You've been here all your life. You've seen the IE grow from a dust field and vineyards to what it is.
Certainly.
So you've seen, and we had this conversation when I was in high school in 92. Downey High School played Centennial, and when we got off the bus, there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. So you've seen the Inland Empire grow. What does this mean, being a native and growing here, to see what's going on with basketball out here?
It's special. I can truly tell you, you and I were just baffled when we were looking at the CIF playoffs last week, and it was just 5 Inland Empire teams in there. I've never seen anything like that. So it's, for the longest, the Inland Empire has been, below San Diego, below Orange County, and most certainly below all the LA County teams. So it's just really, really special for them to now be recognized with those schools. And, and you're seeing guys like Eric Stoudemire, I hope I'm saying his last name correctly, from the LA Times. He's just talking, obviously he's been privy to a lot of basketball, and he's talking about how special it is. And he really was talking about the freshman. And I don't want to dog this kid's name out, but, the freshman that had the 7 blocks.
What was his name again, Michelle?
Onyeka Okongwu.
There you go.
Onyeka. Yeah, it's Onyeka. Very cool name.
Your routine spelling, right?
Yeah.
Yes. But no, this is it's special. especially that it's all happening right now. Again, I was talking to Michelle at the game, and I was just saying, hey, we're just coming off this big high from the Centennial, and then obviously it's transcending back into this basketball thing. So it's a special time. I'm really excited for it.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's the thing, and and I can say this: when we had Michelle on earlier in the year, I mean, she was high on Centennial, not Centennial, but Chino. I keep saying Centennial because I think of the Huskies. She was high on this team way early in the season as well. You put out there for Ayala as well, which is amazing. But this is the one thing. I mean, think about this, guys. They're saying that the freshmen can actually be better than their brothers.
That's what the dad says, and it's kind of
even
hard.
Okongwu, or they say that he can be better than his brother as well. What's the?
Yeah, he's got more potential because he started earlier. But going back to the balls, the dad's theory on that is that he's played with guys older than himself for 6, 7, 8 years, so he's used to this. I kind of look at this, and I don't think I look at him quite the same as I looked at Lonzo when he was a freshman. But there's a lot of development yet to be done. Again, you've got to put in perspective that he should be in the 8th grade.
Yeah.
So you can't look at him as a freshman. You've really got to look at him as a 14-year-old 8th grader.
Right.
And then maybe see where he is in a year.
Right.
And then make your judgment as to whether or not you think he might be able to be as good as his brother.
And that was my theory because, Eternal and I, we debated about this. And I've said that he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the numbers he's putting up are great. But I think because so much attention and effort is put on his brother, that he doesn't. When you get to the point where you can lock in on him, we'll see how it looks.
But here's the other thing: he cherry picks a little bit too.
Yes.
I hate to nitpick, but how many times is he the recipient of the long pass down court and there's nobody around him? So, and he has a great 3-point shot. I'm not going to argue that, but he gets a lot of points just from their style of offense.
Right. And I talk about this because my daughter, she's in the 8th grade. She was in the 8th grade when we went and saw, because she was going into Etiwanda. She wanted to go see the team play. And I remember you were there that night when Etiwanda played Chino Hills. And Chino Hills came in there and beat them. And Lonzo was a sophomore then. And you just knew that there was something about that kid. I had no idea he had 2 brothers behind him, but you just knew that kid was special then. And my God, has he developed into a great player.
Absolutely. I think every year he's taken another step up. I remember back to his sophomore year, and Jordan McLaughlin was at Etiwanda leading that charge. And I remember I had the whole who's going to be player of the year debate at the end of the year.
Uh-huh.
And Steve Bake was pushing for Ball, and of course, obviously, but Jordan was much more seasoned, and I don't even think it was a discussion that year. But then you saw him take his game up another level last year, and then you saw him build on that this year. Right. So I think it's just the natural progression of him each year.
Right. Now we got once again Eternal's calling in now. Don't let him hear that, because his thing is he's going to try to have the guy from Riverside. What's the Riverside kid's name again? Did we lose him? I think we may have lost him. Is this Eddie?
No.
Okay. Oh, this is Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay, Kyle, we'll be right with you in just a second. I think we lost Eternal. You know what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and step out to a quick commercial break, and we will be right back. Kyle Glaser from the Press Enterprise is calling in, and we're going to talk. And it's good. We segue into it. What's going on with the? We could segue on what's going on with JW. Is that Eternal?
Yes, sir. I'm back, man. I'm back. They tried to clip me.
There
but yeah,
go.
no, you were talking about Dikembe Martin, and yeah, he's having a special year. But I think that regarding player of the year, I still think that without a doubt it goes to Lonzo Ball. I don't really think there's much debate about that. You're
gonna lose your Riverside card saying
no. Hey, let me tell you something. My card is solidified. But it's anytime, the way that kid is playing basketball right now, I don't really think there's much discussion about that. I mean, he gets a triple-double right with keeping his eyes closed, so there's not a lot of debate about that. One thing I did want to touch on, because I know I got to get ready to run out of here, but I wanted to touch on some of the other scores that took place on Wednesday. So real huge games took place. I don't know if you guys got a chance to check that out, but Roosevelt, the Mustangs, got a chance to play. They played the Fairfax Lions. They beat them in a real tight game, 56-55. And then Ayala, the Bulldogs, played the West Vikings, beat them handily, 99-60. And then you had Centennial, who fell short by 1 point to the St. Augustine Saints. The Huskies fell short 60-59. And then, like I said, you had J.W. North over Ridgeview, beat them 77-73. And then Bonita, who's still doing a huge run, beat Loyola Country Day, beat them in a tight game of 52-48 basketball game. So really some good stuff going on out there.
There you go. And like we always say, the high school sports are powered by iesportsnet.com. To get the scores in while the game is in play, go ahead and go to IE Sports. Eternal, we know you got to run. Thank you for calling in. Let's take a quick commercial break. You're listening to IE Sportsnet with Coach B and Eternal. I think we lost him. And Eternal, Michelle Gardner sitting here from the Daily Bulletin. When it comes to Inland Empire Sports, the conversation starts and stops here on Fox Sports Radio 1350 AM. Kyle Glaser, Press Enterprise, coming up next.
You're listening to iesportsnet.com, the Inland Empire Sports Authority.
You are tuned into the new home for IE Sportsnet every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. with Coach B.
And Eternal. When it comes to Inland Empire Sports, the conversation starts and stops here.
On Fox Sports Radio 1350 AM, IE Sportsnet every Saturday morning, 8 a.m.
Yo, what up? This is Sendog from Cypress Hill. You're listening to me on IE Sportsnet all day long, all day strong, you heard?
And we are back. This is the one and only IE Sportsnet right here on Fox Sports Radio 1350 AM. I am the one and only Coach B. We had Miss Gardner. She stepped out from the Daily Bulletin, sitting in for Eternal today. You know, when it comes to Inland Empire Sports, the conversation starts and stops right here. But, you know, the Inland Empire is composed of San Bernardino County and Riverside County. So there are some special things going on over in Riverside County. So we said, let's go ahead and get the expert in Riverside County. Mr. Glaser, are you there?
I am here.
There you go. Mr. Kyle Glaser, sports writer for the Press Enterprise, the Riverside County Press Enterprise. Now, Kyle, we can jump right on into it. You know, we were talking about this off air. I mean, special things are going on over in Riverside County. Can you explain to us how special of a run it's been over there at JW North? At first, they won the CIF Southern Section title, and now they're doing amazing things in the state playoffs. They just took down Ridgeview 77-73.
Yeah, I was at that game, and North has something really special this year. I think it's a little different because the previous 2 years they were in the open division for the section playoffs. So, you know, winning D1AA is still incredible, though. And then you look at what they're accomplishing in the state. I mean, they're in Division II. So, again, it is a step down from what they were doing in previous years, open division, Division I. But they're still a team that's, 28-4. They're still a team that has, really, I think you could argue, they're 7-8 deep, which in high school you don't see a lot. And I think that's what allows them to withstand a lot of late rallies. We've seen North pull out a lot of games this year, and I think it's because they're deep. I think it's because their minutes are managed well. They can hurt you inside, outside. They've got, 3-4 deep among bigs, 3-4 deep among guards. They're a really complete team. I would argue probably the most complete team in Riverside County among boys basketball teams this year.
Right, and Eternal he's not here today, but he's a Riverside native, and boy, can I tell you, I've heard about this kid, Dikembe Martin, all season. He's a UCR commit. How can you explain for a minute? How often do we see players like that coming out of? I know Riverside is the home of Riverside Reggie and Cheryl Miller. We know that they have some really amazing kids coming out, but how often do you see kids like this that are so special at the high school level in Riverside?
Depending on the sport, I mean, Riverside does have a lot of talent athletically, so it's not like we've never seen guys come in and make an impact in their freshman year. That said, what Dikembe's done has been incredibly special, regardless of what anyone else has done. I mean, this is a kid that as a freshman was starting at an elite program, four-year starter. His ball handling, his poise, his passing ability was among the best in the area from day one as a freshman. And then we saw the rest of him develop. He got bigger, he got stronger, he started being able to score more inside and outside. I think it's been special to watch his development. I will say that I think UCR got an absolute steal, and he's going to come in and make a big-time impact at the college level. But in terms of what he's been able to do in the career he's put together at North, it's undeniably special.
Right. And, the funny thing is football season's over. But we have to talk about what those boys at Corona Centennial are doing in basketball. They become another power in basketball. They came up just short against St. Augustine, 69-59 in the state playoffs. Can you give us some thoughts about the Centennial Huskies in their season?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if they've become a state power. I think they've been a state power for, the better part of the past decade. I mean, you think back to, when they beat Mater Dei in the D1 AA finals a few years ago. They've been open division perennial team. So, in a way, expectations are so high for them. Some people actually thought they fell short this year, even though they still made the open division and really had a nice season. They're a great team. They're some of the issues this year. We talk about how complete North was. Centennial, when it came to scoring, was not as complete. Jordan Griffin really was. If he was on, Centennial was fine. If he had a bad day, Centennial was in trouble. But they're still an elite program. They're going to, be an elite program again. I don't think, this year a lot of people are happy because they wanted more than, a first or second round section open division run and a first round state playoff loss. But it's a testament to how high the expectations are for that program. I mean, Centennial basketball is one of the top 10, 15 programs in the state long-term, period.
And I don't know what they have in the water over there with Centennial, what they're producing in basketball and football, but St. Augustine, do they not like the IE? Because Centennial's league rival Roosevelt, that's their next opponent. What are your thoughts about what's going on in Roosevelt, and you have any idea of any previews on that game?
Roosevelt can beat anybody. We saw them beat Centennial earlier this year. I mean, they're a 13 seed, and they beat Taft, a 4 seed. And I think at the end of the day, no one should be surprised if Roosevelt knocks off Saints. St. Augustine is a private school San Diego section power in multiple sports, but they're not infallible. They're not, an all-time great, if that makes sense. So I think Roosevelt, as long as they come out and Jamal Baker's hitting his shots, and Alize Travis is doing his ball handling thing he does, they're going to be competitive. I don't think we'll see Roosevelt get blown out of any game they play. At the end of the day, though, it really is just going to come down with them, especially if Jamal Baker is draining from 3, and he normally is, and if that's happening, they'll win.
Right. And, I want to get your thoughts. Give me your post. What are your overall thoughts on Riverside County basketball, and who are, in addition to the Roosevelts, the Centennials, and North, who were some of the players that stood out to you this season? Like, oh, my God, that was the guy in county?
Well, I mean, Temecula Valley made it to the 1A finals. I mean, right. I think you look at, that's impressive, and they knocked off the top seed in their state playoff bracket. They play North here on Saturday at UC Riverside. It's going to be a heck of a game. I mean, Riley Schaefer, has been a stud for 3 years there. He's a D2 guy going to Cal Poly Pomona. I think Temecula Valley is in the midst of an elite run. Those are kind of that's the main 4, North, TV, Roosevelt, and Centennial, but you could argue that Temecula Valley, with the run they went on, the fact they got to a 1A title game, they're in the state playoff, they just upset the top seed, they're in the same conversation with those other teams this year.
Right, and I know you've covered the Riverside County for a while. Have you ever seen anything like this where these teams are just doing so well?
Yeah, I think sometimes people get caught up in the excitement of, oh my gosh, look how many we have doing well. But Riverside County has been an athletic power for years. I mean, you think back a few years ago, North went to a state final, Centennial's perennially in the mix. Roosevelt was still a 20-win program a few years ago. Temecula Valley, a couple years ago, had Justin Simon, and we've seen other teams come in. Rancho Verde was a state finalist for a few times. I mean, I think that, Riverside County, no one should be surprised anymore that Riverside County has 4 or 5 teams doing well in the state playoffs, because it mostly happens every year. When it doesn't happen, that's the exception.
Right. Amazing. Good information. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for getting up early. Kyle Glaser, sports writer from the Riverside Press Enterprise. Keep us posted and let us know what's going on with the playoff run. So always giving us the good information. We appreciate you so much, Kyle.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. We're going to jump in and we're going to get some more basketball. I mean, I'm pretty excited about this. We have one of the teams that are making a deep run, and I talked about this with Michelle, is Cajon, the girls team. they're doing some amazing things over in state. So we're going to bring Coach Lehman in, and we got some amazing things coming up. Are you ready for that, Ms. Gardner?
I'm up. Let's go.
Let's do it. So let's go ahead and step out to a quick commercial break, and then we're going to make sure that we bring in Cajon basketball. So you're listening to IE Sports Net with Coach B, Miss Michelle Gardner from the Daily Bulletin, and sitting in for Eternal. When it comes to Inland Empire sports, the conversation starts and stops here on Fox Sports Radio 1350 AM.
You're listening to IESportsNet.com, the Inland Empire Sports Authority.
You are tuned into the new home for IE Sportsnet every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. with Coach B.
And Eternal. When it comes to Inland Empire sports, the conversation starts and stops here.
On Fox Sports Radio 1350 AM, IE Sportsnet every Saturday morning, 8 a.m.
What's up? This is TJ Ward from the Denver Broncos. You're now tuning to IE Sportsnet.
The Inland Empire Sports Authority.
And we are live. This is IE Sportsnet right here on Fox Sports Radio 1350 AM. I am Coach B, and sitting in for Eternal is Michelle Gardner for the Daily Bulletin. We appreciate it every time she comes in. We appreciate it so much. When it comes to Inland Empire sports, the conversation starts and stops here. We are, Michelle, we were talking about this, the playoffs and everything that's going on in CIF. We had to bring in one of the coaches that are just out there raising the bar for years. He's not new to Inland Valley basketball. He's been raising the bar for years. We have Coach Lehman, head coach for girls basketball over at Cajon. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. We're still in the playoffs, so I'm happy.
That's always a good thing, right, for a basketball coach that loves to get that deep run. Coach, I know we're going to talk about the Riverside County, San Bernardino County Senior All-Star Game. You've been doing that for years, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't talk about your amazing season. I mean, you guys are 23-6. You beat Taft. You have a game tonight. Tell us a little bit about that matchup, Coach.
Okay, Maricosta is a really tough team. In fact, they beat us 2 years ago in the quarterfinals of CIF, and so we're looking forward to that rematch at Cajon tonight at 6 o'clock. They're starting 2 sophomores and 3 juniors. We're starting 5 seniors, so we're hoping the experience pays off, and we get the W tonight so we can play next Tuesday.
Absolutely, and just tell me a little bit about your game against Taft. How was that? You got the win, so it's always a good thing. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we've played a lot tougher teams than Taft this year. We played in the Palisades tournament. That's the toughest tournament in Southern California, and then we played in Phoenix against the top teams of other states. And plus, we went and played Long Beach Poly in Chaminade, which is a top team in California during the fall. So we were really prepared to play somebody like Taft. So we pretty much knew we had that game.
Amazing schedule. Once again, you listen to IE Sportsnet on Fox Sports Radio 1350 AM with Coach B, Michelle Gardner, sitting in for Eternal.
Coach, it seems like you've really had to build up a better schedule here. Now that you've built this powerhouse team, there aren't a lot of teams around here that can really compete with you guys. So what do you go about when you go about in the offseason? You're building a schedule, you're looking for teams to play, and you want to challenge your team with good competition. What do you do to go out and find that competition, and where do you look?
Well, there is some tough teams around this area. Etiwanda, Vista Marietta, Corona Centennial, North, and so on. And we play in a fall league in Corona, and we play all those top teams. But then to go out even farther, we have to travel because not too many people want to come to the hot Inland Empire, and so we go play Long Beach Poly and in a game and Chaminade a game. It's long travel, and then we play some of those tournaments, but that's a long travel in those tournaments when you go to Phoenix, and plus it's a lot of money for hotels and so on and so forth.
But I guess you have to do it because you want to, especially a senior-laden team, I would think this is a team you really want to challenge.
Yeah, I wanted to challenge these girls because we had beaten everybody around this area, and so they needed to step up, and they wanted to try to win the California State Championship. And I told them, well, then we have to go out and play the top teams, and you got to dedicate and commit yourself to the season.
You got the All-Star game coming up, and this is a very, very long-running, a game with great tradition. Tell us about kind of how this game got started and what it means.
Okay, the sports clinic started in the 1980s, and they ran it for about 10 years, and then they dropped it in 91 because they had a lot of things going on. And so I had some players that wanted to play in that game, and so I took up the game. And and we've been running it for the last 26 years at Cajon High School. And we keep the cost down low, $5. We just cover expenses, and so let these players play in front of college coaches because we get dozens of them coming to the game, and always one or more get signed.
Are there any other activities in conjunction with this game, other special things that you do to try and get people to play in this game?
Well, all the coaches nominate their players, and then we have a selection committee that picks them. And then also for the girls, we have a 3-point contest at halftime that's always really good. And we also have a dunk contest at halftime for the boys that's just outstanding. You don't want to miss that.
I imagine the dunks get bigger and better at the high school level, just like they do at the college and pro level every year.
Yeah, they're amazing what these kids come up with and what they can do. I mean, the crowd is just going crazy.
And that's one thing that I want to talk about. You know, this is a great thing. And I didn't know. This is something I learned. I didn't know the sports clinic had put that on because I know they do a great game in football as well. And I'm glad you picked that up and you kept running with it. 26 years in, I think you're pretty good at it now. So, but, you know, let me ask you, why is it so important? I mean, you're a coach and this is what you do. But why is it so important for you as a coach? We take your, organizer hat off. Why is it so important for you as a coach to have those kids have this opportunity?
Well, the seniors get to play another game, the ones that have been outstanding this year, and they get to play against each other. And then it's San Bernardino County against Riverside County. Mm-hmm. Who's the best? And every year somebody seems like they win different, might win a couple of years in a row, but it goes back and forth. They're close games. They're exciting. They usually go right down to the buzzer. And we have dozens of college coaches coming to these games. And the ones that aren't supposed to come to the game, they send somebody else. Mm-hmm. So to take a look at these kids, and they get seen against the best, and so it's a great game for the kids.
Right.
I have to think that this game is also, as much as you've got players that are going to go on and play at the next level, there are a lot of schools that maybe have kids that aren't going to play at the next level, or maybe their team wasn't as successful as they wanted to be, and it wasn't a good end for them. So I've got to think the game might even be more important to those kids to have this kind of experience.
Right, because we have Division II schools there, NAI schools there, JCs there, even out of state JCs come to look at these games that give scholarships to kids.
That's good. And, speaking of that, because of the 36-year tradition, can you think of any players that have come and played in this game and gone on and dominated at the D1 level and maybe gone on to the next level?
Yeah, I think of two right off the bat. They come from my team.
Oh, there you go. And what two players are those, Coach?
Lacey Clarendon graduated in 2009, went on to Cal and took them to the Final Four her senior year. And then she went on to the WNBA, the Women's National Basketball Association, and is backup point guard, sometimes starting at point guard for them, and they went to the WNBA championship this year.
Yeah.
And then we have Lewis Kelly that graduated in 1997. He went on to UNLV and helped them to be very successful. And then he went on to a pro career back in the Middle East and Europe. And so he had a great time.
What is that like as a coach when you think about it, when you're a player, you have them, I mean, they're kids. We were talking about the kid from the Chino Hills, 14-year-old kid. When you have these kids and you've been at Cajon for 33 years, so you've seen these kids go from freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors, and you think, yeah, that kid's good, that kid can play. And to see them dominate at the college level and then go to the pro level, what does that feel like as a coach? That's got to be a rewarding feeling.
Yeah, it's nice to be a part of it and to see them play and see them improve. It's pretty amazing. With Lewis Kelly, it was the first high school player that I ever saw that jumped over the top of a player and dunked, and he did it several times. So
hopefully he was in the dunk contest.
Yeah,
yeah, that's pretty good. So what are you looking to do with this game? What are you looking to accomplish? I mean, you've run it for 26 years. You said now. So what's your goal with this game, and what's your vision with this game? I mean, you've probably accomplished it in 26 years.
Well, it's a showcase for the kids, like I said, but I'm glad you're going to be there filming it.
Yeah.
So these kids can use it as a tape to send to the colleges that they're interested in and maybe get a scholarship out of it. And so I think that's super that you're doing that this year.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll Eternal Eye will definitely be out there getting some highlights and getting some footage to cover the game, because that's what we want to do. IE Sportsnet, we want to provide a vehicle to everyone to get out there and make sure that they get seen. Make sure we get in for Eternal Eye, get in for free, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'll bring my change with me, so that $5 I can spend at the snack bar. You'll get my $5.
No, it's a great event, and it's good to put this on, and You can never have enough all-star games. Sometimes we think there are too many, but the more you have, the more kids get an opportunity.
Absolutely, especially out here. So, Coach, I know you're going to get ready to do. I know you got a game plan and get ready to get your team ready. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but once again, your game is tonight at home, correct?
Correct. At 6 o'clock at Cajon High School.
Cajon High School and San Bernardino. Are we going to do a white out or a green out or anything? Are we getting the fans to do anything tonight?
No, we just hope to put on a good performance for our fans tonight.
Right. And I remember we had you on last year, and the girls they were juniors. But now you got some seniors that are ready to go and ready to get that state. So make sure we get that state because we want to have a reason to go to Sacramento and cover some teams. So good luck tonight, Coach. Once again, thank you so much for coming in. Coach Lehman, head coach at Cajon basketball, 33 years at the same school. Before we go, what is your secret to longevity and success? 33 years.
Well, Cajon, we try to make it like a family because a lot of our teachers, they actually went to Cajon High School.
Really?
And so once you're in the family at Cajon High School, you're always in the family. Yeah. And we contact and we keep in contact with our past players, and they're on our email list. They're on our phone messages. And we're always there for them.
There you go. Well, we definitely appreciate you coming in so early. Like I said, I know you got to get ready to do your X's and O's and get ready for a great game tonight. We wish you success. Let's bring a victory and let's bring a championship home to the Inland Valley, Coach.
Okay, I hope so.
Thank you so much. Once again, Coach Lehman, head coach Cajon basketball here at IE Sportsnet on Fox Sports Radio. Good luck tonight. We wish you the best. We're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. You're listening to IE Sportsnet with Coach B. Sitting in for Eternal is Michelle Gardner from the Daily Bulletin. When it comes to Inland Empire Sports, the conversation starts and stops here on Fox Sports Radio, 1350 AM.
You're listening to IESportsNet.com, the Inland Empire Sports Authority.
You are tuned into the new home for IE Sportsnet every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. with Coach B.
And Eternal. When it comes to Inland Empire Sports, the conversation starts and stops here.
On Fox Sports Radio, 1350 a.m., IE Sportsnet every Saturday morning, 8 a.m.
What's up? This Nick Young of the LA Lakers. You rocking at IE Sportsnet.
The Inland Empire Sports Authority.
And we are back. You are listening to IE Sportsnet on Fox Sports Radio, 1350 a.m. I am the one and only Coach B, and sitting in for Eternal is Miss Michelle Gardner. When it comes to Inland Empire Sports, the conversation starts and stops here. I know Eternal won't want to hear this, but Michelle, I think it's just a better flow when it's you and I on the air. I don't know if we need this Eternal guy. It's just something I know.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding. But, one thing we were talking about off air, and I'm glad you brought it to my attention. When I think of the Inland Valley and the Inland Empire, I always forget about the anything past Pomona. So, when I first moved to the Inland Valley in 2004, I actually bought a house in Phillips Ranch, or a condo in Phillips Ranch, and my daughter was supposed to go to Diamond Ranch. So you said Diamond Ranch is doing something special over there in basketball.
Absolutely. Eric Cooper's in his second year, and when he came over, everybody remembers what he did at Laverne Lutheran. He beat the small school power at Laverne Lutheran that produced Grant and Jarrett, who went on to Arizona and is doing big things. So Eric Cooper, when he was hired at Diamond Ranch, I think this is his second year, everybody kind of knew, okay, that team is now on the radar. Look for this team down the road, and I think they're just approaching what could be a great thing. Obviously, it takes a couple of years to build, but we're seeing a glimpse of the future if he stays at Diamond Ranch.
And that, that campus, when you drive past it on the, I think it's off the 60.
Yes.
That's a beautiful campus. They just built the football field. And you think they pull kids from Diamond Bar, from Pomona. And, everyone wants to go to the new shiny school.
Right.
Right. So, that is a great looking school. And you said they have a game coming up, correct?
Right. They're doing very, very well, and they're playing. The one thing that we look at in the state playoffs is they played in Division III and they won Division III. Well, for the state playoffs, now they get bumped down to Division IV. Well, they won Division.
How does that work?
It's a lot of it is because all the open division teams, a lot of the opens get bounced back to Division I when you go to state playoffs. So then that makes a lot of the ones bump to twos and twos bump to threes.
Interesting.
And that's why you've got Ayala, who ran the table in 2AA, and they're now in Division III.
Yeah, that's.
I don't get that either, but now they're going to probably run the table in Division III.
And you know what's funny? When I was I know it was years ago when I was in high school, but when I was in high school, you only had Division 1, 2, and 3, I believe. I don't remember all these new divisions.
You probably didn't have this many schools either, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Make me feel old. But yeah, because it's totally different now. And teams, I mean, are there too many CIF championships now?
Yeah, I think so. The more you have, the more watered down it gets.
Right.
So I would say yes. And especially in a basketball where you don't just have 1A, you have 1AA, and you have 2A and 2AA, and you go down to Division 6.
Right.
So I would tend to say yes.
Right,
I think coaches disagree because everybody wants to win a title.
Everybody wants a title.
The more divisions you have, the easier that is.
Absolutely. And you just touched on it for Ayala. So they got bumped down into what division is Ayala competing in again?
They're Division 3.
They're Division 3, but during the season they were 1AA.
No, they were 2AA.
2AA. Okay, 2AA. Right. And speaking about Ayala, and I'll tell you, Eternal and I, we drank the Kool-Aid, and we were on Chino. We were following them and watching them, and you pointed them out, and you said early. We can go back and listen to the tape. You said early on in the season, that team is that good, second best team in the city, but no one's really paying attention to Ayala. And all they did is they went out and they won the CIF Southern Section Championship, and now they've won in the state. They won the first game in state. They beat West. Give us a little word on that team.
No, they won easily. I mean, if you look at the playoff scores in the section, they weren't challenged. And I know a lot of people were looking at them as a possible open team. And I was told that in the original open draw session, if you will, that the heated contention was, should Ayala be in the open or should they not? And that was a very, very heated
debate
argument. Absolutely. So, and if you talk to Ayala coach John Mounts, he was kind of non-committal. He just kind of said, well, I can't do anything about it anyway.
Right.
But, if you look at this team and they're senior laden, they want to go out with a title. And they kind of know your chances of doing that when you're not in the open are a heck of a lot better. So I think that they're better off where they are. I mean, if they make the open division, now they probably get seeded 15 or 16. Maybe they get Chino Hills in the first round. Who knows?
Right.
So I think that, secretly deep down, they know that the lower division is probably better for them.
Right.
And I think part of the reason they might have gotten saddled with that a little bit lower is just because they're not real deep.
Mm-hmm.
He has 5 players that he starts, and there's one other guy that sees some playing time, so they're not real deep.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that was part of the reason that they were put in the division that they were put in. Also, I don't think that they had that huge win.
Right.
They didn't have a win over. They had a decent schedule, but they didn't have that win over Mater Dei or that win over Bishop Montgomery, or they didn't have that resume builder 1 or 2 wins that would legitimately put them into the open.
Right. And once again, you're listening to IE Sportsnet on Fox Sports Radio, 1350 AM. I am the one and only Coach B, and sitting in for Eternal is Miss Michelle Gardner from the Daily Bulletin. So I agree with you on that. It was, I mean, that was an impressive team. They look good, but what was funny, something I was thinking about when I got to the game at Honda Center. I got there just before Centennial. I keep saying Centennial, before Chino Hills took the court, and I mean the stadium was packed. And did you notice when they finished their game, half of the stadium left?
Oh yeah, they're the marquee attraction wherever they go.
Yes,
I've never seen anything like this. They are the marquee attraction. Even going back to the event they had at Cerritos where they played, and then there was one other game after them. And there were 1,000 people in line that couldn't get in.
Wow.
And then the Chino Hills game gets over and the place emptied out. You'd think there was a fire in there.
Wow.
Probably 75% of the crowd just bailed after that game. So the last game of the night was virtually to an empty house.
Right. And I know it must have been for TV scheduling over at Big Fox and Fox Sports West.
That's absolutely why it was.
You would think that game would have been last instead of
No, it was the prime TV spot.
Yeah.
You watch your prime TV game at 6:30 in prime spot. If they don't play at 6:30, now they're playing the 8:30 quarter of 9 game. Personally, I'm glad because that wouldn't have made the paper anyway. So
yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Now, on the girls' side, we just had Cajon in, and they got a great game tonight. Now, you know what? I wouldn't be doing my job as a dad if we didn't talk about the Etiwanda Eagles girls team. My daughter's a little sad about it. You know, they lost in the first round to Edison. Edison's the team Ayala beat on the boys' side.
Right.
But what about those Etiwanda Eagles and Jordan McLaughlin's little sister?
They went into the Open this year. Last year, they kind of were a borderline Open team, and they ended up going into 1AA.
Mm-hmm.
They had everybody back from that team, so they got put in the Open this year. Again, I think the biggest problem with Etiwanda was they had a tough draw. They played a tough schedule, but had a tough draw in the playoffs. They played Chaminade, and Chaminade is loaded.
Right.
That's one of the best girls' team that I've seen in a long time, and they just repeated as champion as the Open. So they go to play Chaminade, and Dominique McLaughlin, senior point guard, yes, Jordan McLaughlin.
Yes, little sister.
Rolled an ankle on the very, very, very first play of the game.
Wow.
So that dealt them a huge blow. She tried to come back, wasn't quite right, left the game, tried to come back. I give her all the credit in the world. She could barely walk after the game. But that was not – it was like taking the engine out of the train. It just didn't work. And last night, the game this week, she did not play. And that's one reason they kind of got drummed pretty good, is that she just was unable to go.
Right. And we touched on it when Eternal called in earlier. Unless someone's been living under a rock, they don't know that the number one team in the Inland Valley, in the state, in the nation, are the Chino Hills Huskies. We just found out that, and Eternal touched on it, the number one player in the nation, Lonzo Ball, just got awarded that award. You know, it's amazing what they did in the first round. Like you said, it's like they're sleepwalking, and they still put up 103 points in playoffs. I mean, that team is amazing. I want to ask you a question. Is there anyone in the state, I don't think so, that can challenge this team? I mean, they went to Florida and knocked some people around.
The next game's going to be very interesting.
Okay.
So they play Foothill Christian on Tuesday. Tuesday at Colony. They've played Foothill Christian twice already, and you know that old saying, it's hard to beat a good team 3 times.
Yes.
Well, they played Foothill twice, and the first game, they won by 1.
Wow.
Okay, and in that game, they had a huge first quarter. I think they were up by 20, 25, 26 points, and then Foothill Christian won the other 3 quarters.
Right.
So that game was really close and probably closer than it should have been. The last time they played, they won by 20.
Okay.
But I still think that this game is going to be the litmus test. We'll see. Also, now you're playing against that system and that team 3 times.
Right.
Does it get easier for them now that they've seen it?
Yes.
To play against that the 3rd time?
They got film on them.
We posed the question to the guys last night. We said, would you rather play Mater Dei a 2nd time or Foothill Christian a 3rd time? And do you think the odds are stacked against you playing them a 3rd time? They don't really look at it that way.
I would rather play Foothill Christian. I personally would, because the way you beat Modern Day.
We were talking that on Press Row last night.
Right.
And we were saying, well, what game would you rather have them play? And we're like, well, they beat Mater Dei by 50. Do we really want to see that again?
Yeah, but if you're those Modern Day kids, you got a chip on your shoulder.
Absolutely. But we wanted to see Foothill because we thought it would be a better game.
Right.
Based on the first 2 games that they've already played this year.
Right.
So I think this is going to be another game where Chino Hills is going to raise the level because they have to.
Right.
I don't think this is a game they're going to be disengaged or disinterested in because they can't afford to be.
Right, because they're going to say, and I don't want to get ahead of myself because they still have a long road before they get to the state tournament. They, like you said, they have Foothill Christian, and will they play Bishop?
Bishop Montgomery is still in the draw, and that's a tough one too.
Right. So
Sierra Canyon got upset last night, and they were the 2 seed, so that was huge.
Right.
But Bishop Montgomery is still looming too, and
because you said that was a tough game.
Let's
for them.
not forget Chino Hills won that game by 4 points, and they were losing most of the game. So Bishop Montgomery looming, and that would be a Southern Regional final at the Pyramid, I believe, if they get Bishop Montgomery again. So the only thing looming with that game, though, is Lonzo Ball went 2 for 21 for the field in that game against Bishop. That's not happening again.
Not at all. And one thing that I found interesting, and I know we're almost pressed up against the clock, but one thing that I found interesting, and you kind of touched on this. You said even if Chino Hills does run the table and they get all the way to state and they win state, the CIF won't allow them to play in the national tournament.
Right.
Is that amazing or what?
Well, again, I said this last week. I think Coach Steve Bake stacked his schedule because he knew that they weren't going to be able to play in that. And he wanted to have a good enough resume moving forward that he could say, hey, we're still we still think we have a case for number one. So I would think you can't take number one out of number one unless number one loses.
Right.
But you never know what the so-called experts panel.
Correct.
And it's that mythical national championship. Who knows?
Yeah, because they did some amazing things. I just found this out today. They did some amazing things when they went to your alma mater, when they went to Florida and took some teams out.
Absolutely.
Talk about their resume, because I know they beat 3 top 5 teams.
They beat 3 of the top teams in the country down there. But
wow.
the marquee game that opened eyes was Montverde Academy from Florida. It's outside of Orlando. They were ranked number 1 in the country before Chino Hills.
Right.
And it's an international boarding school that recruits basketball players.
Right.
And because of the makeup of the school, they are not allowed to participate in the Florida high school playoffs. It's not a fair battle. It's an international boarding school.
Right.
So they don't play in the Florida playoffs.
Wow.
If that tells you the type of team our little public school is playing against.
Right.
And when they won that tournament, and obviously Montverde is kind of seen as the big bad team, and when Chino Hills took them out, they became the darling of the tournament right away, and everybody just jumped on board that team.
That's amazing. We certainly appreciate you getting up so early. I know you're not a morning person.
I'm not. No sports writer is.
Right. Miss Michelle Gardner for the Daily Bulletin. Thank you so much for coming in early. Eternal will be back next week. We appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and step on out of here. I got Greg Holler looking at me like it's time to go. So you're listening to IE Sports Network. Coach B sitting in for Eternal was Michelle Gardner from the Daily Bulletin. When it comes to Inland Empire Sports, the conversation starts and stops here on Fox Sports Radio 1350 AM.
You're listening to IESportsNet.com, the Inland Empire Sports Authority.
Where the pros talk sports in Riverside and San Bernardino. Fox Sports 1350. KTDD San Bernardino, an iHeartRadio station.